Welcome to I Read This Book with Chris. I am Chris. Today, we are discussing High Wizardry by Diane Duane. This is the third book in the Young Wizard series by her. My beverage today, which is Grand Teton Brewing Old Faithful Root Beer. There we go. Let's get a nice... So at the end of Deep Wizardry, there is extra chapter. It says, turn the page for an exciting peek of High Wizardry, the third book in the series. However, the things that happen in that chapter, that's not actually the first chapter here. In the, I guess I'll call it an interbook chapter, a little bit of reading in between books. We learn that Nita's sister, let me pronounce it out loud. Let's read it. It's weird. You read a name so many times, and then you're not sure how to pronounce it. Dairine. Dairine. Probably say Dairine. That may or may not be correct. But we learn in the interbook chapter that... So in the second book, Nita's whole family learns about the fact that Nita is a wizard. Go back to the previous videos if you're interested. Her younger sister, Nita, is like 13 or so. So Dairine is a few years young, 11 or 12. She wants to be a wizard. She sneaks into Nita's room, finds the oath, and says it. Repeats the oath so that she becomes a wizard. This happens, the opening chapter here happens on the next day. Dairine does not yet have a manual for themselves. The manuals are the spell books that they use. However, their parents have bought a new Apple computer, and they're trying to set it up. However, Dairine goes, sets it up, and realizes that they are on the ground arguing over the manual, trying to figure out what the proper way of setting this thing up is. She turns it on, plugs it in, and realizes it's actually does not look like the way it should, because she's used one at school. It's actually a magic computer. It has magical programming in it, and she's able to access it now that she is a wizard. She makes a copy of it, and then makes it basically converts the copy or the original into a laptop, which she is then able to hide away. She leaves the copy there for her parents to figure out. Her parents get upset with her and say, hey, you get lost, go with your sister. So her sister Nita and Kit go to New York. Nita and Kit take Dairine to the museum. At the end of the day, Dairine goes into the bathroom, pulls out this magic laptop, figures out how to use it, and casts her first spell, which she uses to teleport herself to Mars. She leaves the gate to Mars wide open. Nita is looking for her, goes into the bathroom, sees there's a giant gate to Mars, runs out, Kit closes it, and they go to try to find Tom and Carl, who are wizards who can help them with this. Throughout this whole thing, this whole book, we then, from this point on, we see Dairine go ahead, chase, using her computer, which is her manual. She runs along doing things, and her sister, Nita, and Kit are chasing after, trying to help her and stop bad things from happening. I don't know that I'll get all of the timing right for when I switch back and forth, but I'll tell you the general outline of the story. Dairine is learning how to use her magic, so this is right after. She got the magic. The next day, she gets her computer, which she turns into a laptop, realizes it has a lot more power than she's used to a regular computer, realizes it's magical, uses it to take her to Mars, and teleports her. And then she learns how to communicate with the computer system. At first, she has to start talking to it. I don't know how to program. I'll just say this out there. But in a way that you would, if someone who does not know how to program, at the very least thinks, oh, that sort of makes sense if you're talking to a magical computer through a programming language, right? She'll go and she'll say something, and it'll be like, input unclear or some such thing, and she'll have to go and rephrase it to make more sense. So she travels from Mars, then she travels all across the solar system, and then says, let's go somewhere more exciting. She loves Star Wars. I want to go and punch Darth Vader. This is her driving force. So she's like, computer, can you take me somewhere more interesting, somewhere that's further out? The computer's like, yeah, I can do that. Here are your options. And she's like, wait a minute, because she felt a little sick teleporting the first time because it was from Earth to Mars. And then every time she increased the amount of distance she was going, so she went from Mars to, like, I think it was Titan, or I don't know, somewhere out further in the solar system. The distances kept growing, and she kept, she figured out how to deal with the travel sickness, but it's still traveling a long ways. So she's like, well, just take me to the closest. So she's teleported to the closest planet where anything exciting's going on, which is known as the Crossing. Basically, it's like a giant airport for the galaxy. If everyone in the galaxy and all the different planets could go from one place to another, her computer uses becomes a translator and translate for her, so she's able to talk to someone. First, she tries talking to someone's luggage because she doesn't know. All these people are crazy. None of them are humanoid. And she starts walking out. This person helps her into the airport, this crossing area. At which point they're like, alrighty, there's the help desk if you need any help. There's the departures. Here's the landing. There's the section where people freeze themselves. Alrighty, have a good one, and leaves. So she's all alone, trying to figure out where to go, and is lost. Meanwhile, Kit and Nita go back and talk to their senior wizard, saying, hey, what's going on here? She's gone. What do we do? And they're like, well, we can tell she's already left the solar system. What's going on here? And Nita says, well, she's always said that she wants to punch Darth Vader. And they're like, well, this cannot be good. Also, the fact that she had the ability, considering she is a couple years younger than Nita, and Nita, apparently the powers that give people the opportunity to become wizards want to wait, because the younger you are, the more power you have, but also the less likely you are to be able to control it well. You're young, you're powerful, but also unstable, unexperienced, all that jazz, right? Nita was young and already met the lone power face to face. What's going to happen with Diane? She's even younger. They know that she is more powerful because they have a book that has everyone's name, and next to everyone's name that has how powerful they are, and they see she's twice as powerful as Nita. What's going on here? And they're like, well, we can't help you. We're not allowed to leave the solar system because, we got to watch out for all the magic that's happening here. Good luck. Take Machu Picchu, who is their parrot, Tom and Carl's pet who talks. So knitting Kit and Nita decide they need to come chase after her. There's sort of an emotional thing that happens with Nita because I don't know. You can tell this was written by a woman. It's got all the emotions in there, and it's supposed to be for, people who are 12, 13, 14 going through that time of their life. What does it mean to be friends with someone who is the opposite gender? And then it goes and talks about how Tom and Carl are wizard partners. They've worked together so long, and they, always team up. What does that mean for me, Kit? Nita's has all these emotions going on, and realize that she likes him, which I don't know. I don't get why it's in there. I don't feel like it's necessary, especially considering most of the book is not following Nita and Kit, it's following Diane, but it's thrown in there, which is how you can tell it's written by a woman, because I don't know any guy that would write that. I don't want to. They chase after her. Cut back, Diane. She's in this place, she's trying to figure out what's going on. She's trying to use her laptop. All of a sudden, she gets this bad feeling from these guys who show up, look kind of like paramilitary, with weapons. And she's like, I don't like the look of those people. I'm just going to walk away. As she starts to walk away, they see her. They start running. She starts running. Runs through the airport. They start firing after her, running after her, knocking things down. She runs into a bar, runs to the back of it, realizes she's trapped. Another human is there, another human wizard, says, "Here, go this way." Then he acts super drunk, starts to make a distraction, trying to distract for her. Makes it through, hides in a bathroom. Yet again, this is an alien bathroom, and then uses that. The people who are chasing her finally find her. They try to break down the door. Just as they're breaking down the door, she uses her computer to teleport away. Right after she teleports away, she's chased again, after a few minutes, or less than a minute, or, enough time for her to realize where she is, not enough time for her to do much of anything. It happens. She gets teleported away again. She talks to her computer and says, "What's going on?" And she's like, "Well, I'm trying to take you to this place you told me to go." And she's like, just get me out of here, get me lost so they can't follow me. And so then, over several hours, she goes and teleports from planet to planet to planet to planet to planet, all for splits, second, bam, bam, bam. So it's kind of like the concept of putting your, computer. I don't know how it works. I want to say a VPN, but I don't know that's how a VPN works. But I've seen it in TV shows. You have to chase the person's routing or whatever, and it goes through Russia, and then from Russia to China, then from China to Denmark, then from Denmark to Denver, then from Denver to Maine to Canada to Mexico, and it bounces all over the world. Apparently makes it hard to trace. She does that, but physically teleporting herself. At which point she then tells the computer, "Alrighty, find me this place where I can go, where I'll have some time to rest, and I'll be able to find a weapon which I can use against these people that are chasing me." The computer then goes and teleports her to this giant planet that's completely clean, smooth, untouched, uncratered. Cut back. Nita and Kit on her trail. They realize she goes to the crossing. But because there's so many teleportations that happen there all the time, they are told, basically on Earth, you're not, wizardry is hidden, but everywhere else in the universe, most other places, wizards, everyone knows about them and people look up to wizards. So you just go and we tell them you're on your way. You get there, they'll be able to help you. They get there to the crossing, they go up to the help desk. It's just one guy who, basically runs this whole airport that's the size of a large city. He says, "Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. We've been waiting for you. There's this huge mess." Leads them to the bathroom in which she was shot. The security captured one of the people, and they realize the people who were chasing her have nothing to do with it. They were just pawns. They were used. They go try to, magic where she went, and they go and they try to follow her. We cut back. Doreen, she's on this planet, and she's learning what her computer can do, making her computer more human by making contact with herself to it somehow. I don't know. It's all weird. It's magic, which I don't understand because of magic, and then it's computers that I don't understand because they're computers. But some weird way she connects herself to it in such a way that it then becomes more human and is able to converse with it more clearly. And then she's like, "Well, it's like, I'm running out of power." She's like, "Well, how can you get power?" And it's like, "Well, I can get power from the geothermal that's on this planet." So she hooks it up. And as the computer hooks itself up magically to the geothermal power in order to charge the battery so it can survive, or stay powered on or whatever, she's reading through, trying to read the manual, and she's like, "Oh no, it got corrupted." She talks to the computer. The computer's like, "No, I'm still here." And then she's like, "What's going on?" Apparently, all of this interference is coming directly from the planet. And she realizes that the planet it's so smooth. She's reading this from the description the computer is giving her, seeing it, and putting it all together in her head. This planet is so smooth. because there's volcanic eruptions that happen. Volcano shoots things up, becomes a big cloud. It slowly all settles. It's all silicon. Or it's like 80 or 90% silicone or whatever. So it becomes thin, thin, thin layers. The whole planet is one giant computer chip. However, it's a one giant computer chip without any information stored on the computer chip because it doesn't have anywhere to get the information from. So as soon as it's hooked up and has the chance, it, sends all this information. So then she has the computer communicate back and forth with it. And she's able to make the computer sentient because it's such a giant computer chip just by communicating with it. First sending numbers 1, 2, well, it's 1, then it's 1, 1, then it's 1, 1, 1. And then she starts doing squares and cubes and starts communicating with it. At which point she tells her computer, hey, how about you just hook up to it directly and give it what you got? So she's able to communicate directly with the planet. Slowly over time, this turns into her falling asleep. She wakes up. The planet has created some little turtle robots, which apparently was information stored on the computer. She starts communicating with the planet through the robot and starts teaching it about what it means to be, alive, what she's like, all this other stuff. And then makes different variations of the robot. Some that have different, computer brain structures, but some that are tall, some that are short, some that can carry lots of things, some that are just meant to think, some that are just meant to remember, trying to create variations, to fill the different niches that theoretically might be important. The robot, she realizes they're all still connected. One's still brain controlling all these things. She tells them, after they've created all these different variations of robots, it's sad that she's going to leave. And she's like, well, don't be sad. I mean, you're all alone right now, but all of these different robots should be individual creatures so you guys can talk to each other. And she tells the computer to tell the motherboard, which is the planet, which she names the motherboard. All of a sudden, bam, they're all individual creatures. And of course, they all then start talking to each other. And then, because she made them different, they start trying to figure out what's going on. When she gave the planet, the motherboard, all of the programming in the manual, the planet became a wizard. Because the planet, one thing, it read the oath that was in the manual that then got transferred over. So it all agreed. So then all of the whole race of all of these robots are all also wizards because they're all came directly from all different pieces of her, or copies of her consciousness of the planet just broken up, or copies thereof, or I don't know. But now that there's all these copies, they then start talking about what's going on. They realize entropy's a thing. Entropy being, in a system, energy is going to be lost. Energy is going to be gone away into other things. Which means, eventually, even though right now they are all powered by the geothermal planet and all the stuff going on underneath, and they're also getting a lot of power from the sun, eventually their sun is going to die. Their planet's going to die, and they're going to be no more. They realize death is a thing, and they go and they start to try to see, let's end entropy. How do we end entropy? We can end entropy by freezing the universe for 1,000 years at a time, and then, we'll let the universe come back and pause for a second or two, and then we'll pause it again. This is their plan, and she's trying to say that's not going to work, at which point the lone power comes in. The lone power is trying to tell them to stop entropy because they don't actually have enough entropy to stop power for everyone. They might be able to stop entropy for everyone, but they could stop entropy for their galaxy, possibly. It's a wizard that's a planet, and it's a whole race of wizards. So she is arguing. So Doreen is arguing with some of these people. Some of them are on her side. Some of them are on the other side. We need to stop entropy because entropy is bad because we don't want to die. Which point she decides that she needs to get them to understand, and the only way for them to understand is for her to hook herself up, her brain, directly with the planet. Let's go back to Nita and Kit for a second. They have been following her, realize they can't follow her, realize the only chance they have to follow her is to chase after the lone power, so they use their spell, their magic, to find where the lone power was and then teleport themselves there. So they both arrive at the planet, the motherboard. When they arrive just at the same time that Doreen is hooking herself up to the planet, giving all of her understanding and experience in her life to the planet, so the planet is then able to understand her and what's going on, and why stopping entropy would be a bad thing. It all happens very fast, because it's computers can analyze things, and computers can analyze things very quickly. At which point, they all decide, because they're all separate, but they're all connected, like they can all communicate with each other, so that all of the robots got understanding of her life when she connected to the motherboard. They all decided this was a bad idea, stopping entropy. Right afterwards, the computer, which has downloaded the whole manual, the whole Wizard's manual, then downloads all of that into Darian's mind. When Kit and Nita show up, they distract the Lone Power. The Lone Power starts, shooting magic at them. They're able to protect themselves. One through using a powerful artifact, and then by Nita is giving up years of her life to power a shield spell, which is then able to protect her as the Lone One keeps throwing power and power and power. Left. Doreen then comes back now with all of these robots on her side. They're all a bunch of robot wizards, over 1,000 robot wizards, a robot planet on her side. She has the whole wizard manual in her head, and so then becomes a match for the Lone One. The Lone One starts doing things, and everything it does, she is able to, with the help of her friends that she's connected to fight off. At which point she realizes the only way to trap the Lone One is to trap the Lone One inside of herself. She traps the Lone Power inside of herself. And the Lone Power, trying to escape, manages to spread itself into her and Nita and Kit, and tries to get Nita and Kit to run away. Because if the Lone Power is inside Nita or Kit and they teleport somewhere else outside of the power, then it'll be able to escape. Machu Picchu, the parrot, came along with Nita and Kit. Was killed by the Lone Power in its barrage on them, but comes back and says, "Hey, I'm not actually Machu Picchu. That's one of my names and one of my forms, being a parrot, but I'm actually one of the powers. The Lone Power is one, the one that created death. But I am the defender. I was Prometheus. I was Thor. I was all these people. I did all this stuff." And then, somehow, in a way that I don't really understand exactly what happened, it's a little confusing, she was able to connect with the Lone Power and take it to, Time Heart. Time Heart being the place where the powers come from. It's on top. It's a power on top of this world that created this world. The creatures that created this world came from there. It's where you go and you die if you're a wizard. I don't know. It's a little confused. But somehow, Machu Picchu, being the defender that is one of the other powers, along with the fact that this new race was created, these robots on this new planet, the motherboard, they had the power to either choose death and let death in, which would have been, ironically, them choosing to end entropy, because by choosing to end entropy for themselves, they then bring death on others. But they have decided against that because of Doreen, and Doreen explaining and showing to them all of it. It's the first time where any new species had the ability to choose death and didn't. So somehow that and everything else meant that the defender and the Lone Power then came together because they're and went back to Time Heart. And the Lone Power now that it had been defeated. Then tells them, "It's all right. You've defeated me, but my shadows and the things I've done in this world have already out there. So we can still win if you keep fighting now from this day forward and forever." And that's where the book ends. And the book ends with them then just getting teleported back home. What exactly does that all mean? A couple things. One, I like how all of the three main characters, these kids, all have different magical abilities and powers. Comparing it to Harry Potter, even though this came out before Harry Potter. But in Harry Potter, everyone starts, works their way up, learns, goes to all these classes. And then at some point you go and, let's say you were good at potions or, magical history or, defense against the dark arts, or any of that stuff. You then go from there and you're able to learn different things. But you all start off at one center and you like sort of flower out. Here, we have Nita, who has the ability to talk to things that are alive and plants. We have Kit, who talks to mechanical things, robots, whenever he touches things like rocks. Like, he touched like a comet early on and was able to figure out its history and communicate with that non-living things. And then we have Doreen, who can talk to computers. And that's her power. Her magic is actually done through a computer. She doesn't read out of a book like the other ones do. She doesn't have to draw a diagram. She just tells it what to do. And once she's figured everything out and is able to do it, the magic happens in the computer. When Nita and Kit are teleporting, they have to draw out diagrams. They have to get everything just right. She doesn't need to, because all that information is stored and all that magic happens there. She just needs to go and tell the computer stuff. Which then, the first time that she tries to teleport, and anything more than just the simple spell of take me from here to there, and it tries to give her more information, the computer asks her all these questions. What's your favorite color? Who was your third grade middle school teacher? All these things, because her name to be in the computer needs a lot more information. This information is still there, contained in Nita and Kit in their writing, but it's contained in a different way, which I liked. I don't really like how quickly all of this is happening. It's definitely under a year between the first book and the third book, like in the story, but so much is happening. Everyone is growing and learning and everything's so quick. And then at the end, it always feels like, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I'm gonna say it's a bad thing, but I'm interested in being wrong. That all sorts of big things happen. You read the first book, so you want to be a wizard, and it's like, oh, we've defeated the lone one, but he's gonna come back, and there's other times where we still have to defeat him. And then the second one, it's like, okay, we give of ourselves. Nita volunteers and is willing to sacrifice herself in the song, and realize that someone else is willing to sacrifice themselves for her, and because of the person who gives themselves up for her, the person comes back, the shark, the silver one, whatever the shark's name is because of who they are, and they sacrifice themselves, they don't die and they come back. But she's willing to sacrifice herself for this one little time in order to stop the lone power. And then all of a sudden, okay, everything's fine. Nothing really happened. And here we are again. And it feels like, now, this is the third one, the lone power, it has been trapped, has been brought to Time Heart. This feels bigger than the other two times defeating it. Yet, somehow, it's gonna be back. I have books 4, 5, and 6 on my shelf. So there's going to be 3 other times where probably they are going to have to defeat the lone power. I don't know. Why do they have to keep doing it? Because they keep trying to make it bigger and bigger Diane does. Every time she makes it bigger and bigger, and yet still it has to happen again. Once again, here I am comparing it to Harry Potter. And Harry Potter, he has to fight Voldemort and kill Voldemort. But at least those sort of make sense because he broke himself up into pieces. Here, I guess it makes sense too because he spreads himself over time. And at first, they thought he wasn't able to be defeated, and now finally they've defeated him. And by defeating him, they've turned him back, and he's joined the other powers again. But the things he has done has already taken their toll on this universe, and so they need to keep going and fighting. It's already happened, yet not yet. All the things that need to happen, I don't know. It's a lot. So that's book 3, High Wizardry and the Young Wizard series. It feels like a lot happens, and yet not a whole lot of plot happens. The lone one just comes up at the end. It's chasing, then all of a sudden it comes at the end. There's a big fight. I don't know.